Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon Wound, Pickup.
All right, quick draw McBrandon there. Hey, this is Todd Novak. We are thrilled that you are listening to our show right now, and we hope you enjoy it for the next hour or so. This is the Guitar Knobs podcast. Tony, what do we like to do on this show here?
We like to talk to people in the music industry that are boutique builders, if you will, of pedals. Sometimes we talk to influencers.
Yeah.
Sometimes we talk to reviewers.
Yeah.
But our main focus, I think, you correct me if I'm wrong.
This is what we are actually famous for.
So we talk to boutique builders of guitars and amps and pedals and pick guards, for instance, and pickup makers and
all the big spotlights were being used on the big boys. So we went to this nice little yard sale. We got a smaller spotlight, and we've shown it on all the little boutique builders.
A very bright spotlight.
It's a bright one. It's just a little smaller.
It's just a little bit smaller.
That's the way we like it.
But anyhow, these are some people that don't always get the attention that they deserve.
That's true.
Whether it's a guitar, an amp, a pedal, whatever, that people are putting together, not just to satisfy the mass market, but occasionally for a very niche.
Their voice needs to be heard.
And we are the voice.
No, they're the voice.
Oh, they're the voice. Yeah. We are the...
Anyways, we got one of those voices on the line. Shut up, Tony. Who is this?
This is Oliver Ackermann from Death by Audio.
Holy moly. Death by Audio is in the house. We are thrilled that we got this interview right now.
Thanks so much, man.
You better believe it. For any of you not familiar with Death by Audio by name, you may be familiar with one of the most famous fuzz pedals out there, the Fuzz War. And these guys made it. And a lot of other amazing pedals too. And they've got a really neato brand. And we're going to dig right into it. And we've got the founder right here in our grasp. So...
Is he
We're
the
gonna
voice?
have a fun time. He is the voice. He is the voice.
There you go.
I can't wait.
And we are the projector.
Right. Sure.
Right.
All right. I got to stop this right now with you guys. Okay. We're going to get to a couple announcements real quick. Do you have any announcements, gentlemen?
I do.
Oh, Jared does.
Well.
I would like to announce, and this is a Brandon Wound Pickups announcement, I will have a booth at Summer NAMM.
Ooh.
Oh, cool.
All right.
So I will be talking about that until Summer NAMM.
Well, maybe.
Have you guys ever been before?
Yes.
Yeah.
We went this last summer.
Yeah.
I've been there many times, but I've never displayed.
It's going to be a first time thing.
So it'll be interesting.
I got some
we're
people to
going to
talk
let
to.
Jared do his thing and tell us of his experiences.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe we'll do something
Oh.
Yeah.
down the road.
Oliver, have you been to the Summer NAMM down there in
I
Tennessee?
never have, no. But I've been to Nashville many a times, but never to Summer NAMM.
Yeah. It's pretty dang fun. It's different.
Now, it's fun to walk around all day, but I mean, if you have a booth, obviously you're paying good money for that, and you're really hoping to make some good connections and get some business out of it.
Yeah.
So
I think it's worth mentioning that I think outside the venue is where a lot of the bonus action happens, because there's more places, smaller places that's easier to get to. They're right there to have little shindigs with people.
it's a good thing it's a good place to loosen up,
Yeah.
especially out there in Nashville.
Well, I think it's good training if you ever do decide to do the Winter NAMM out in California, because that is a monster of a show.
Yeah. It's a lot of work standing there and just smiling and talking to people all day about, and trying to sell your product and being genuine, after 8 hours of standing all day.
For sure. It's a crazy experience.
Yeah. You were out there slinging it big time, weren't you, Oliver?
Yeah, I never thought I'd be doing anything like that, but it's pretty fun.
Yeah, and you were on a pretty busy aisle, as I recall.
Yeah, I think we were on kind of a sort of metal row or something like that.
Yeah.
They always put us there with Death by Audio, thinking that we make some coffin cases or something like that.
Yeah. You guys had a great presence there, and I appreciated you guys in your full, regalia. And it was a fun time. It was great meeting your whole crew. So, Tony, you got anything else there?
I don't have any announcements right now, but I'm excited for Jared because I think it's going to be a good step for him.
I agree. I think people need to actually hear and play his pickups, and that's what he's planning on. And I'm sure he'll remind us constantly of it all the time. So, anyways, on to my announcements. We had a fantastic little, speaking of NAMM, there's a new announcement out there. Beatronics is actually doing their pre-order for the Buzz, the Swarm. The Swarm, cool. It's called.
Yeah, I heard that at NAMM. That was awesome. Did you guys watch that video?
Oh,
yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And so that's a really, really interesting pedal. This is going to pedal that is going to sell out, and then they're going to do another run. It's going to sell out. They're going to do another run. It's going to sell out. So get over to Beatronics website and get yourself on that pre-order list. It's a pretty great pedal. Also, I want to let everybody know hopefully you recall our some of our chatter, and we added on Instagram. Copper Sound Pedals did a nice little gift for us. The pedal board flashlights, which, as you recall, I was like, why would anybody want a pedal board flashlight? And then I got one. I was like, oh my gosh, this is genius. So we got to talking with him, and I said, I'd really like to get a couple of these for me, and I want to give them away to a couple of our listeners. So then we're going to give away 2 of them, and so be looking out for that on Instagram. I will make an announcement, and they're super fun. They're orange, and they have a black Guitar Knobs logo on it, and it's cool. Yeah.
The only thing that I wish.
What's that, Tony?
I wish that it had like a foot switch on it.
What good would that do you?
Well, because you can use your thumb on a foot switch.
That's true. Instead of a toggle?
Yeah, instead of the toggle.
Okay. Well, Alex, hopefully you're listening.
That's just me.
Tony wants a foot switch on his.
You left the light on, the show's going on, you want to turn it off.
Yeah.
Let's say you're in the middle of the show, you're playing, you got to turn off the light.
Yeah.
Got to use your foot.
Yeah, or leave it on. It's just effects.
Oh yeah, strobe it.
Exactly.
Blinding the audience.
It is a pretty handy little tool, though. I actually used it. I used ours at the show last week.
There you go.
I just elevated my vocal tones. So the other one is, as I mentioned before, we are going backwards with our executive producers, and we want to include their 4 on the floors. So if you are a new executive producer, you can submit your 4 on the floor, and we just do a quick read on it, not the extendo version for the guests, but Sean S., who you've heard us say his name many, many times. He's a great supporter of the show, and he submitted his 4, so we'd like to share his. I love hearing what people's 4 on the floor is like. It is one of my favorite things. Number 1, the Boss GE7 equalizer. Now, most people say equalizer, what the heck? That's one of your 4 pedals, but his is modded by Frommel. I'm not familiar with Frommel, but apparently it's kind of it's an important mod. He said putting this pedal in the effects loop makes my amp come alive, and I can do almost anything with it. Huh. But without the mods, I wouldn't be so hasty to add it here. They are a must for this pedal. And
so we don't know what kind of mods are done to it. If it's
I assume that it's one of the noise. It's like what Alchemy does. They kind of take out the noise of the pedal.
Okay.
So it's really interesting, and it's interesting that he's using that in an effects loop too. I think that's kind of a curious way to use it.
Well, that's kind of like the old Mesa Boogie with the 5-way graphic EQ.
See, and this is why Tony's on the show, so he can say stuff like that.
Anything Sean S. does is interesting anyway.
Yeah. So number 2 is the Wampler Tumnus Deluxe. He says, this one beat out my Wampler Black 65 Overdrive barely. I plan to propose to Brian Wampler at my earliest convenience. To hell with what my wife says. I thought that was pretty funny. He apparently really, really loves this pedal. And then number 3 is the. Now I think I'm going to mess up this name. And Oliver, if you know better, please correct me. I believe it's a Neunauber.
You could be right. I don't know. I've always wondered exactly what it was.
Yeah, it's
how's it spelled?
It's spelled like
N-E-U?
N-E-U.
Yeah, it's Neu.
Neunaber. Yeah. The Neunaber Expanse. Now, he is kind of known for a couple of his other pedals, which are he's got some complex pedals, but they're very highly regarded pedals. They've made it to a couple of our Four on the Floors, actually. His is the Expanse with the EXP pedal, so the expression pedal.
Mm-hmm.
He said, this one beat out my Catalan bred Echo Rec only because it can be used for a lot of the same echo effects. It's really 4 pedals in one at any given time. I love this pedal and what it can do, and they keep adding new things on every software release. So that's interesting. It's kind of like the TC Electronics.
Oh, yeah.
Brian Neunaber might also be invited into my love triangle if I ever get out to California. Or is it a quadrangle now? A square? Anyways, pure genius in programming these things. I like that he kept I like a running joke, right? And then number 4 is the Digitech. This one's really interesting. The Digitech Jam Man Stereo. I felt a little bit wrong including a looper pedal here, but my looper has been a good friend and practicing for several years now. It has been a good friend on this journey, and I felt wrong not to give it to do here. He was absent from guitar playing for a really long time, and he said that this really helped him with his muscle memory. Just kind of like practicing. Cool. Yeah. So anyways, Sean S., a great supporter. Thank you so much for sharing your Four on the Floor. And more to come from other Fours on the Floors.
Yes.
There you go. Nice one, Jared.
We love you, buddy.
All right, let's get on to what did we do in our music world this week? And Jared, go ahead.
Oh, man. Just spin the wheel of what did I do, because there's a bunch.
Pick one.
Pedals. Because we're going to talk about pedals. So, Temple board, great board. And I'm going to go ahead and admit this publicly, that I did not know what I was doing at all. And I used stupid Velcro.
As opposed to the actual devices that
the devices are these plates that stick to the bottom of your pedal, and then it comes with a little nut that you screw in on from the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, so
that's what all the holes are for.
Right. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure how many of the sizes I need, so I just bought a lot of each size. And, actually you can use a couple small ones on odd sized, and it's really a fairly simple system, and it's great.
Sure.
So the only problem I ran into was some of my Mutron pedals. They have the original.
Is that yet another pronunciation?
I know, it's a new one.
Of Mutron?
That's the overpronounced
Mutron,
because I can't say Mutron.
Right.
So anyway, I actually had a conversation with the Mutron guy.
Right? Yeah.
And they were discussing how to say it as well. So their pedals, they have the old vintage rubber feet on them, and I am not about to tear those off.
Yeah, big squares or something.
Right, they're like inch by inch squares. That's 1 inch by 1. And so what I'm going to do is take one of those little nuts to the hardware store and find out what thread it is. It kind of looks like I don't know, 438 or some weird machine thread.
38, 39, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, whatever it is. And I'm actually going to probably rig my own bolts so I can, tighten those pedals down on that board.
Yeah. Or you can just take it off and put adhesive on when you got to sell it.
Sure.
You could do that.
Yeah. Cable tie it to the board or something.
Yeah.
Probably don't want to. I don't want to do the cable tie. And the Velcro, that was a bad mistake.
But that's a good point. That's my issue with having. It's tough to have a fuzz pedal, or sorry, not a fuzz pedal, a wah pedal. Some wah pedals on your board, because then you have to you got to figure out the different screws if you don't want the feet on the board. Or famously, oh my gosh, the rat is a nightmare to have on a board, like the slant case rats. Goodness sakes.
I always figure out what the right size screw is and then just buy longer versions. you guys were talking about, because then you could screw it through your board, and you could even put the feet on the underside of it or something. But
that's true.
I don't know. Well, it's a fix, but not the best.
And the Rat also has, not only does it have the feet, but then it has that like compartment giant
battery door.
The battery door.
Yep.
But if you take that off, like it's just a goofy system. It's not very clean, anyways. Blah.
And one more thing I wanted to add.
So get yourself a woodcutter instead,
or a big hunk of epoxy.
Yeah, right.
One more thing I wanted to add to my week was I went up to Akron. I was looking at some really cool guitars at a guitar shop there, and my buddy Dan, he pulls out this 1964 Stratocaster. It had a rosewood slab board, and it was a one owner. And it was in really good shape. I mean, it still had the skin oil on, where that bevel is, a cutaway on the lower corner. It was really cool. Like, it was just never messed with. And that was really fun to play. Those old ones, they feel a lot different. Just so different than the newer Strats. They were lighter. They just felt like they were handmade. And today's, I don't know if they're because they're drowned in, poly today. I don't know, but they just felt more real, from the 60s and 50s or whatever.
That's the truth.
Yeah. So that wraps up my week of what I did.
Excellent. Let's hear from Oliver.
Let's see. What did I do? I went to this party at this house down the street and saw a band, Don Babylon, play. They were pretty good. There was some other band. I can't remember their name, but they were pretty good as well. Kind of felt like the old dude at the party. Definitely like walked in and was like standing on someone's jacket or something that was on the ground, but
was it like a house party kind of thing?
Yeah, it was like a house party. Yeah.
Cool.
It was in a basement.
Those are fun, man.
Yeah.
There needs to be more of those.
For sure. If you got a basement, throw a party.
Exactly.
So that was good. Besides that, just been playing and recording a lot of music, gearing up for this tour that I'm about to go on Sunday or something, heading to Australia and New Zealand.
Whoa. With your band?
Yep. Place to Bury Strangers.
What's it called?
A Place to Bury Strangers.
All right. Well, everybody's going to rush out. Are you guys on Spotify, right?
I don't know. Probably.
Okay.
Place to Bury Strangers.
Were the strangers killed by death by audio?
Could have been. Yeah. It's very dark. Yeah.
Nice. That sounds like fun.
So yeah,
right on.
Should be good fun. Yeah.
Tony Baloney, what's going on, buddy?
I think I'm going to talk about it. Sometimes dealing with friends.
Dealing, you mean like business dealing with friends?
Yeah. The gist of the story is I had a friend of mine.
I paid you for the pig guard, right?
I won my $2. No, a friend of mine put together a Les Paul custom type guitar, and it took a long time. And when I got it, I was very disappointed. It was not done well. And I mulled it over for a couple of days, and finally I said, I thinking to myself, I can't accept this as it is. It's just, it was too much money and it's not where it ought to be. So then I spent another day or two figuring, how do I contact this friend of mine and not crush him and not be in a real, a bag of douche. And so what I ended up with is I kind of spent a couple of minutes and I kind of wrote down what I liked and what I didn't like and had pictures to support all of that. And so I sent that over to him. Basically, just wanted to see what his one reaction would be and two, what he was going to do about it, basically. And I half expected him to say, well, it is what it is kind of thing. But but I was pleasantly surprised, and he said, I want the line that really I really enjoyed the most was he said, I want to make this right. And cool. I hope that's the way he deals not only with friends but with other people. Because I make mistakes. Jared makes mistakes. When we're making stuff. We're not perfect.
No, we are far from it.
and really, it's all in how you handle the mix ups. And I did 2 this week, and it's just like it's going to cost me money to make it right, but I'm going to make it right. And my buddy. So long story short is he's going to put together a couple of really cool guitars. One of which is it's kind of a Japanese tattoo Telecaster.
I have seen this and I covet it.
It's the graphic work on it. It's basically a Telecaster body or Cabernita body, single pickup that has a Japanese tattoo print that's cloth attached to the body, and then it's just soaked with a ton of
front and back
lacquer.
It is awesome.
It's a really cool guitar, and over the years I've been saving certain pickups for different things. It's a single pickup humbucker. And it's one of the old 70s, maybe early 80s, DiMarzio sun. It has the engraved cover with the sun logo on it, and supposedly those were all wound by Larry DiMarzio himself. And it's essentially 2 Strat coils underneath the cover, and it's just a kind of a cool pickup that I got years and years and years ago, and I was just holding on to, and it kind of really ties in with the graphics on the guitar.
I wonder if those are the same pickups that are in that Suntech Strat copy that I have.
It might be.
And it's a neck through. That there's that the Sun label is in the case of that guitar. Like there's DiMarzio.
Not to be confused with Sun amps.
Right.
Yeah, This is like an engraved picture of the sun, like with big.
It's really cool, and it's from the mid late 70s or whatever, and they sound really good.
Yeah, they're cool pickups. So anyhow,
there was a thing in the 70s. There's a lot of sun stuff going on, like good vibes,
suns and moons,
stuff like that,
and stars and
stuff,
clovers. Yeah. They're always after me, Lucky Charms.
I think it's because of the type of drugs they were on, like liquids and stuff.
Yeah. But anyhow, so long story short, long story longer, it's going to be a very cool guitar.
Yeah.
It's kind of when you see this thing, it just kind of takes your breath away.
I know about 150 tattoo artists that would give their, right arm for that. Yeah.
Their right arm tattoo for that. Right. So anyhow, I'll have that together probably here in another week or 2.
On.
We can bring it in. We'll commiserate.
Yes. He just has to finish the neck on that, right?
Yeah, it's going to be done this week, supposedly.
He makes a good telly neck. I know that.
Yeah.
As for me, we had a show this week, and I had just an amazing time. It was one of the rare occasions when you get to go and you play out, and you end up just making friends with all the bands. Like we went
awesome.
we were at Denny's at 3:00 in the morning, just like talking about the shows. Great.
That's the best. I did that.
It was awesome.
20 years ago, there was nothing better than going to Denny's at 3 a.m.
Well, by yourself.
And back then you could smoke in Denny's.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Remember that?
But that wasn't the necessarily the guitar related thing, even though I was playing guitar. But I brought my Zoom H4n mic to the show, and just asked the guy behind the board. I said, "Hey, can you record the room?" And got a pretty decent recording out of it. It was a little bit on the boomy side, but what are you gonna do? But we got the whole show in its entirety, and I didn't have to mess with anything or worry about anything. You just had it on a tripod back there. We had a good sound guy, so.
When you told me about this the other day, it really reminded me of the rewards of playing out and having a good time. It's not necessarily the cheddar that you do or don't get at the end of the night. It's just having
all given
fun.
to Denny's.
Right.
We tipped the waitress really well. We had like 15 people.
Oh my.
Yeah. Anyways. And they pulled us on, like each of the bands like kind of had a, pull up on stage, and I think I got up and did We Are 138 with some of the guys, and we did Neat from the Damned.
Yeah, that's a great one.
It was fantastic. It was great. Anyhow, so yes, awesome weekend. It's great to talk about guitars. It's even better to play them. So
yeah.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the floor. All right, 4 on the floor. Oliver Ackermann from Death by Audio. Give it to us.
Woo.
Yeah. All right. My 4 on the floor. What pedals I think are absolute, you kind of must have. The first one is a Sans amp. And I don't really ever put this pedal on my board or anything like that, but it's kind of the ultimate pedal to have in your guitar case. If that makes sense.
Okay.
If
Are you talking about the original Sans amp?
Oh, actually, one of those bass DI things. So whatever that's called, I just nickname it, I guess, that because of what it is. But, if you need a DI, it's a DI. If, let's say, your whole board, someone throws a beer on it or you just can't get it to work, like you got a distortion pedal right there,
It happens, man.
It happens, yeah. So sometimes you need all that stuff. Maybe you need to equalize something. It kind of can do all of that all in one pedal. So at this point, I don't even know how many I have. Maybe I have like 4 or 5 of them just because you kind of just need one at different times, or I'll run it with different rigs or put it on a board to use as a DI somewhere. And then if you want to turn on the distortion, you got distortion to distort the DI. I'm the kind of guy who likes that, do that kind of thing. But
right.
Yeah,
that's
very
cool.
useful.
So it's sort of like a life preserver.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's kind of good to have one and just keep it in your guitar case, I think.
Well, what's interesting is right now, I mean, I think that there is a palpable uprising of the sort of amp in a box kind of thing. Not the kinds that are modeled, but like pretty true amp in a box. There's a couple released actually at the show.
Step 1.
Totally. I mean, that is really good too. Like I've even seen it happen where someone's amp blows up and they have to use the Sans amp. And, it's kind of sort of demoralizing. It kind of bums you out to have to play through the DI, but doesn't sound terrible.
Yeah, I used to use, I did a lot of acoustic gigs years ago, and I used the Sans amp acoustic DI. And it was really, I mean, a remarkable pedal because, I mean, every time, the sound man just, plug the XLR cable into that, and it always sounded good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
Pretty easy to travel with.
Yes, totally easy to travel with.
Awesome. How about number 2?
All right. Number 2 would be the Color Sound Super Tone Bender.
Oh, that's twice that's made it onto the 4 and the 4.
It's one of the best pedals ever made. It's fantastic. And I got it a long time ago when the shop was still around. I guess, is it called like Marcase or Macase? I don't know exactly how to say it, but you used to be able to order those pedals online and you'd even get like an email from the guy who made them, which I guess was the guy who ended up dying. But the pedal just sounds absolutely incredible. Must have been like carefully combed through to match like the transistors and everything. Because even if you kind of try to like build it yourself with the same components, it just never really quite sounds that doggone good.
Interesting. Are any of your pedals based on that by chance?
That's what the basis of just like the rough idea for the Fuzz War was. I wanted to make a pedal that I thought was like better than the Super Tone Bender without like taking any of the direction from the actual schematic itself.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my answer to that.
How do you think you fared?
I think it kind of does that. It's always sort of hard to tell. It's like depending on what you're playing through and what you're doing, you could kind of flip flop or go either way. But
yeah,
at the time when I designed the Fuzz War, I was playing through a lot of twin reverbs and stuff, and I think that really kind of blew the color sound out of the water at that time. But I still every once in a while grab the color sound off the shelf and play it, and it sounds great. So
rad.
Yeah, it's a goodie.
I dig it. Cool. Well, how about number 3?
The next one would be probably an unpopular choice for a lot of people, but yeah.
Okay.
The Zoom Multi-Stomp MS100 BT. It might be the base model, or maybe it's the Bluetooth model what the BT stands for. I don't know. But it's kind of a stupid pedal in a way where you've got a lot of menus that you have to scroll
Tell
through.
Us how you really feel.
All this stuff, yeah. But I don't know. I always kind of find myself buying these multi-effects pedals just to kind of inspire myself to like scroll through and write songs and quickly just have different sounds that you can just kind of access. And this one just has some like really cool effects that I don't know, I haven't really heard anywhere else so much. So there's like this like freeze sound where you like strum a note and it freezes, delaying it until you hit another note to re-trigger the freeze. And I don't know, some other kind of cool, wacky, wonky.
That's like the EHX freeze?
It's sort of, but that is more like fluid, and this sounds kind of like crappy in some sort of way, which is kind of awesome,
right.
you know. So
hey,
crappy is
kind of like
awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, I'm also a fan of I'm a fan of the effects processor. I don't want to leave any stone unturned. I want to see what all that thing can actually do. So
totally,
those things.
Jared is surprising us constantly. I never imagined that coming out of his face.
I have a couple of them.
Well, I know, but
there you go.
Having them is one thing.
I spent like 30 minutes on one of mine the other night.
Oh, that's excellent.
Just going through everything and laughing at my old presets from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oliver, I think you bring up a really good point in that oftentimes, if we've cultivated if we've curated a board and we say, this is my sound, and you are playing, do you have the right tools you need to go out of your own box? And I love the idea of actually just having a multi-processor off to the side, like a Boss GT, whatever, and picking a number and just going right through it and saying, all right, okay, that's an out of control phaser. I'm going to do something with it right now, and just forcing yourself to do a riff on it. I love that. I want to try that. I'm going to commit to this. I'm doing it.
Do it. Put one of those on your board.
Inspired me.
I'll let you use my process.
Make it happen. Yeah.
I'm going to get you a pod.
Yeah. Give me something cooler. I want a foot thing on it at least.
Hey, I got you.
Yeah.
I got an old Digitech.
Yeah, I sold an old Digitech. Anyway.
I got the old silver one.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay, man. Maybe I'll try that one out. Okay, anyways, here we go. Number 3.
Yeah.
Oh, that was number 3.
That was number 3.
Wow, we're blazing through this. What's number 4?
Well, the number 4. I'm going to keep on talking about the Zoom for a second.
Oh, sure.
I think one really,
please.
It's awesome to just have all those effects at your fingertips. Like for someone who's just starting out or something, or even if you can only bring so much stuff with you, it's pretty cool to just, let's say you're like, dang it, I didn't bring my phaser pedal. Like you got a phaser pedal. Very useful.
Uh-huh.
Everyone should use one of those things. And runs on some AA batteries. So if you've got a choice between watching TV or your Zoom,
take out the remote.
This is silver Zoom, right? The silver.
This one's blue. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I have the old silver one. Too. I still have an old silver Zoom.
Oh yeah. Those ones are cool too.
Have you tried any of the? I noticed that SansAmp has a couple of kind of multi-effect pedals that they put out a while back. I know that we talked about the SansAmp Bass DI, but have you tried any of the new multi-effect ones that SansAmp
I haven't seen. They had a bunch of like ones with like little small knobs or something on that. Is that right?
It was probably, I don't know, 16 or 18 inches wide and had, like a number of different things. One was for like an acoustic guitar, one was for an electric, one was for a bass.
Did you play them? Was it cool or?
I've never tried one. I've done some research on them, but I haven't tried them. I should have tried them at the show. Now that I think of it,
one thing I was impressed with at the show was those Keeley pedals, like the Loomer, and maybe it was like the Dark Side of the Moon or something. Did you guys try those out?
Oh yes,
yeah.
That's just like, so it's kind of the same sort of thing as a multi-effect. Like you've got 3 really cool kind of, digital effects as well as like a distortion, which can kind of do everything you want. I thought that was pretty cool.
The Dark Side of the Moon is a really nice, very well put together and very solid. Like you pick it up and you go, yeah, this is solid.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like a toy, even or some of the multiprocessors you pick them up and you're like,
I can break this. By bending it.
Just feels so. It feels like you're copping out almost. Like, I'm settling. But other ones actually are like, whoa, this is legit. So, anyways, blah blah blah. So on to number 4.
All right, that would just be Crybaby wah pedal, and I don't know, like there's a lot of other wah pedals that I've used that maybe have a better sound or something, but you can always find a Crybaby at a guitar store and it's a pretty usable wah pedal. But
yeah.
I don't use the Crybaby. I always build ones myself, but it's pretty good.
Right
It's a
on.
good pedal.
And any particular, I mean, it's kind of weird. They've taken like one pedal that does one thing and made like 100 versions of it.
Oh, yeah,
somehow.
definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know how they managed to do that.
Some of the componentry. Do
Well,
you find your
it's not unlike the Gibson Les Paul. It's like, how many are there?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Totally.
So do you find you using it as a true wah, or do you like to do like a fixed point kind of a?
Yeah, I'll just use it as like either like fixed point or like a slower sweeping filter, just to, you can just kind of do so many effects, sort of simulate the sound of a phaser or whatever you want. Kind of with a wah pedal, it could be just a treble boost or kind of make the guitar sort of disappear in the darker regions and do a lot of like, I don't know, just find it very, very useful.
Cool.
Right. Awesome, man. Well, that's a pretty fun 4 on the floor. Let's get on with the interview portion of this. What probably most people have been waiting for, and myself included. For just a quick introduction, as far as from my perspective, you have a brand and a presence out on the ether, creating some pretty wild stuff. And you guys are wild in nature. It's entertaining. You have an entertaining brand. If you watch any videos that Death by Audio has put together, I think at bare minimum, it's going to inspire you to make some really loud, raucous noise and join in. You're not taking yourself too seriously, it seems, which is
Hey,
pretty
watch
healthy.
it, buddy. No, yeah.
In a good way.
He resembles everyone.
So anyways, yeah, this is somebody that I've wanted to have on the show for some time because I think they're unique out in the guitar world, and I'm really happy to have the founder of Death by
Thanks
Audio
for having
here.
me.
Yeah. So let's get to where you started, not necessarily your brand, but I want to know where sort of like the genesis of how Oliver got into making crazy music came into play.
I mean, it comes from so many different places, I guess. I always at some point, just sort of fell in love with electric guitar. And, once you kind of could crank an amp up and play guitar, you just kind of felt the magic of what that was all about. And so when my parents would leave, I used to have this giant like SVT amp that I bought from a friend that, my parents didn't really know about. And I'd like take it out in my room and like just blast it out and shake the whole house. And that was kind of like, starting exciting. I would go see bands and then kind of really wanted to play music with friends. And so we started kind of doing that. And then eventually was like really inspired by, I went to art school, and there was all these crazy like house shows where people would throw out like abandoned warehouses and like alleyways and down like train tunnels and stuff. And so that kind of introduced me to a lot of like noise music and noise musicians. And
I would like to know what your first guitar was.
it was a Gibson SG that my brother had bought, and he didn't want because he kind of like started to learn to play guitar and then I think lost interest.
Let's elaborate. Is it the standard or the faded, or was it a special?
Maybe it's the standard. It's like just that like plain walnut one.
Yeah.
And it was like a homemade cutout pickguard from this piece of mirror I think someone thought was cool. And,
Don't try this at home, people.
yeah, exactly. But
Did it have a broken headstock on it?
nope, still got the headstock on it.
Okay,
Still
cool.
fine.
Because I had one with a mirror pickguard that I made, but I
Oh,
broke
wow.
the headstock, and the insurance company took it because they paid me for it. So
Oh wow, that would be funny if that was the one.
yeah,
If they fixed it, nobody could tell. But
that's why I asked.
Yeah.
why did you have the mirror? Maybe some artist had that same guitar or something like that.
Yeah, Matt Guitar Murphy, Blues Brothers band.
That's incredible. That's so funny. That would make sense.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
There
Well,
you go.
especially if that makes sense for Jared a whole lot.
Yeah.
You're talking about seeing bands and stuff. I'm just curious, like based on the kind of pedals you're making and the noise you're making now, what was an early inspiration for you?
You mean just like bands or stuff?
Yeah,
or?
music wise, like what really grabbed you by the ears early on?
I guess at first we kind of when hearing bands like the Jesus and Mary Chain or My Bloody Valentine, that kind of got me excited into kind of, effects pedals and wanting to create music and sounds, which would kind of take me to those kind of psychedelic sort of places. But I don't know. Later, watching like Noise Axe and stuff, it was bands like Six Finger Satellite and Lightning Bolt, and I don't know, all sorts of Providence kind of bands. But that's where I was living, so that's why that made sense.
Okay, that's cool. Well, that kind of makes sense. I mean, there are sort of expansive noise bands, so
Sure.
know what you're doing right now definitely seems like it aligns. One of the big things I think it's worth mentioning, you are known for fuzz. Is that safe to say? Do you think that's safe to say?
Sure, it could be. Yeah, I mean, we definitely make a lot of things which have like the capability to also distort and hear what it sounds like when you take the effect that we make in, you do distort it or take it to the limit. It's, I think kind of just the nature of different processors and chips. It's kind of interesting when you do kind of like take them to the limit and, give the user the ability to sort of do that.
Right. I think the Echo Dream too
Sure.
is a very good example of that. Like, hey, we make an Echo machine, but it's got fuzz. And several other things to completely blow out any intentional music you're trying to create as well.
Sure.
Yeah. What were some inspirations pedal-wise for you? I mean, I think it's safe to say probably the Big Muff was, but what were some other ones?
I mean, just kind of whatever I could get my hands on. And definitely I liked a lot of that electro-harmonic stuff and, like the Memory Mans and the filter matrix flangers and polychorus and all of that. Those micro synth pedals were like really cool and definitely took apart a bunch of those. I really love the Mutron stuff. I think that those circuits were like really so rich and warm, and all of them in that series just kind of had such a sound that I felt like was really important. Even like a lot of those pedals from like the 70s and whatnot, which kind of maybe don't totally work right. And some of those old flangers and like the Chenet Fuzzoirs and stuff where there's kind of like some bad components where like while you're trying to use the wah, it like cuts in and out. And I think that those are kind of like some of the coolest sounds, I think. So, it's almost anyone can kind of like, play guitar in some ways, not necessarily, but, but there's like a moment when you're like scrambling to like make your sound work where you're like really kind of on the edge and anxious. And that's just exciting.
Well, one thing that I think your pedals offer is sort of they allow spontaneity to happen.
Yeah.
I think that is an interesting thing to have within your music quiver of instruments, because so much of the time when you're creating music, you're playing guitars, you're like, all right, I'm making a song. Great, you made a song. Now I'm going to practice that song a million times so I don't mess it up on stage, right?
Yeah.
But then you get on stage and you find yourself in a moment where you're like, oh man, I really want to get some like squealy harmonic right here to just accent the feeling that I have right now. But you haven't prepared yourself with the equipment to maybe be able to
For sure.
do that completely spontaneously.
Yeah.
And your pedals seem to have a lot of that built into it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that stuff is like kind of important. And I don't know if other people are really even embracing that so much and creating effects. Like a lot of these, as I was kind of touching on before, some of this stuff from the 60s and 70s and whatnot had sort of problems. So like when you would take them to the limit, it would sort of do something additionally, which would kind of like sort of mess it up, and people kind of take out some of these like really interesting and spontaneous sounds to make the pedals like more like universal and usable. So I just think it's kind of fun to sort of embrace, like the performance and what it's going to be to like translate some feeling or emotion into playing guitar, playing this music, and giving you the kind of tools to I don't know, turn your guitar into a fist or something like that, and do something maybe you wouldn't normally do with practice.
Mm-hmm. I think the fuzz gun is one of those that I especially took to in the sense that you have a fuzz pedal, a very very adequate fuzz pedal with like loads of Velcro-y, gatey business going on. It has an oscillator toggle, so you go from straight gate to oscillator. And when I was playing, I was like, well, let's see what this does. And I went to oscillate, and I started playing. I didn't really oscillate much, but then I stopped playing. Then I was like, whoa. And then it just started giving me all kinds of frequency,
Sure.
I was like, just like you're standing in front of an amp with your guitar trying to get those squealy, harmonic oscillations going. And
I mean, that could be really difficult at times because it's like every guitar you plug up into that pedal sounds different. And, if you're trying to replicate the same sounds, that could be a problem. But,
yes.
maybe that's... But that's something that you should strive for as a musician,
right? That's where the spontaneous part, because you're like, I don't know what frequency is going to come out of this right now. Although you can dial that in a little bit. But what I found equally interesting, because I typically don't read the things straight away. I just want to kind of play around with them and see what I can get out of it, like the instructions and stuff. It started to get like crazy, so I just said, well, I better turn this down. And then all of a sudden, I was like, wait a minute, oh my gosh, I can control this oscillation and the squeal with my volume knob.
Yeah.
And my tone knob. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. So
and your switch.
Yeah. Oh my, that's right. I was flipping the switches. I was like, this is awesome. So that was really neat. And I personally, I like to have as much control as I can when I'm playing live, because I don't like messing up.
You're not like a control freak or anything, are you?
Not me. But this was like, hey, I'd kind of like to explore with doing something like this. So, anyways, that was really neat.
I think the common theme on a lot of these pedals is it introduces chaos.
Totally.
And that's, and that can be from a creative standpoint. I mean, it can be, especially in a live situation. Yeah. Is it repeatable? Probably not. But you can, do different things, and we've all done it. Throw the guitar into the speaker, and make some kind of noises come out and that sort of thing. But in that respect.
Well, and even on the simple, I would call it simple, the Fuzz War. I mean, it's a massive box, and on one hand, one might say, why is this box so big, and why are these knobs so big? And then you're standing there playing, and then you realize I can control the tone while I'm playing with my foot.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So how did you, it's one thing to say, I really like music. I really like making crazy, chaotic music, and I'm inspired, and yada, yada, yada. How does one go from there into then understanding electronics and making pedals?
I mean, at the time, like, I was in, some different kinds of bands, and we were just kind of really trying to do stuff, and really nobody ever kind of pays attention to your bands, because like, kind of who would? A lot of times we get like kicked out of places and whatnot. And so, we're always just kind of trying to have to sort of do every sort of aspect of it. So you sort of become like, the record producer, and you're recording your music, and then you're also making the posters for the shows and trying to get people out and stuff. And one of those things of, trying to do more with the music was even just to explore what could be done with, like, while recording with effects and everything. So it was kind of just the desire to want to create other atmospheres. And so this was kind of the days before there was any of this information on the internet. I would just go to different libraries all over in my travels and check out electronics books and read them, and just trying to take apart things as I possibly could, and even doing things like teaching myself how to solder. It like took me years to just even figure out how to actually solder, and all sorts of stuff, where I just really wanted to make this stuff happen.
Did you have any like aha moment that clicked for you along the the path of learning?
I mean, I guess once I finally kind of figured out how to solder, that was a really big aha moment. And then I guess, just so we kind of, the more things you would sort of do, you kind of keep on having those aha moments. And, once you can sort of figure out what, I don't know, they're kind of talking about in an electronics book. There was books that I would read and I wouldn't understand a word of what they were talking about, and I would read the whole book. So I guess once you kind of start to piece those pieces together, that's at least pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And you go through lots of trials and tribulations and things that are tough, and you have lots of those, like, never charge someone $100 to build some custom pedal, or something like that, I guess. But
it's interesting to find for me to understand how people get into this, because it seems like something that is not easily gotten into, because you can have a great idea and say, I wish a pedal could do this. And you can say, ooh, I wish this pedal looked like this. And I but when it comes down to it, unless you're having somebody else actually put together the circuits, you have to either figure that out or buy them like as in a kit or something. But obviously most people are actually figuring it out. And that's one of those things I have a huge amount of respect for, because it's complicated stuff unless you have loads and loads of time to dedicate to do like 90% of it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess, at the time when I was doing a lot of the learning, like, I was living in this like warehouse for free in Virginia, and I didn't really need barely any money. I think it said like on my tax returns or something that I made like $3,000 that year or something. So was able to just like work, around the clock on trying to figure this stuff out and experimenting and, kind of teaching myself along the way, I guess.
The majority of your pedals right now are, as we said, pretty heavy, like, fuzz related induced things, but you, I think, recently have been waning a little bit more towards more complicated sound machines. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of, just the nature of, I guess, where you want to go when you get more comfortable with kind of doing things that are more complex. I mean, recently I've really just been getting into like a lot of computer programming. And so I've just been kind of teaching myself a couple of different kind of languages and sort of, diving into that too. But we haven't done anything that's totally digital yet at the moment. But that's what I've been working on recently. But besides that, I guess we made like some kind of really lo-fi sort of pitch shifters, and we came out with like the pedal that kind of started Death by Audio, the Total Sonic Annihilation, with Total Sonic Annihilation 2, which just kind of forces your pedals back into themselves. That's actually a pretty simple concept.
So can you elaborate a little bit more on the
Sure.
Total Sonic Annihilation, aside from it being like one of the coolest pedal names ever?
There you go. Well, so basically it takes whatever effects pedals you have on the ground and forces like them back into themselves, like the output back into the input, and you get to like control how much that happens. And so you're basically kind of like circuit bending your whole pedal board all at once, and that kind of does all of these weird, interesting things where it can either sound like more distortion, or like aliens are talking to you, or
that happens to you too.
Yeah, exactly. Or turn your pedals into a transistor radio or something. Some of these things, which it's like extremely unpredictable and very like noise based, or it can just be, depending on how you've dialed in, it can just be like a slight like modifier for your pedal board. So basically it takes whatever pedals you have and then kind of like doubles the number of effects that you have, because this pedal, depending on, if it's on or off of what's in the loop, changes what the sound of that is. And then with the Total Sonic Annihilation 2, we added like a couple of extra features, like it has a boost and like a limiter, and also like a phase reverse switch. So like some things where maybe the phase of what's coming back in the loop counteracts with what was coming out of the loop. So you can flip that, and it can do like weird, interesting things with like phasers or flangers, or maybe some pedal that is made incorrectly, or so they say, where it's like has the phases reversed when you turn on the pedal.
Right.
But so that'll make that work in the loop as well. And then also that makes the pedal itself, if you don't want to put anything in the loop, it also works as like a distortion, and an oscillating distortion. Or if you even just plug a cord straight into the output, it's just a standalone oscillator.
Cool. You had mentioned that you're looking into programming and things like that. Do you see that as the direction that a lot of the pedal makers are going to go, or are they, going back to more simplistic types of things?
I think that's definitely like, the wave of the future, or at least incorporating that with ideas. It's just kind of open-ended. It's like you're dealing with code at the moment, and, it's real primitive right now. So I'm sure at some point it's not unbelievable to just say that, you would have a little box that would have, the exact replication of every single effects pedal that ever was, that you could have at your fingertips. To say that that's the ultimate way to interact with the pedal, that's like another story, So I think that that's where, things kind of still could get interesting for these objects that are pedals that you actually use, because it's maybe a little bit more than just what they sound like.
I think that's a really good point. And to me, okay, I'm gonna draw a metaphor here. In my professional life, when people ask me what I do, I'm like, it's kind of like Iron Chef or Chopped, except with creative stuff and advertising stuff. You're given a set of parameters, and you have to work within those parameters, but you also have to make something amazing out of it. What I like about what you and a handful of other people are doing with these pedals, you're not just saying, here's everything, here's the entire supermarket, go ahead and make something. 9 times out of 10, you're going to go for something that's comfortable, or you may pick something that's so wacky that it just doesn't, it's kind of useless. But you're providing parameters, which I think is really interesting, because you're saying you can do anything you want as long as it's within this. And the thing that I'm giving you is going to allow you to step far enough out of your box to where you're going to be uncomfortable, but maybe not so far that you're going to kind of get lost and give up.
Yeah, it is like a tool, so it should kind of be, I feel like at least the things that we do are like designed to do like sort of specific things. It's like you don't really want like a hammer with a lawnmower attached to it.
I think that would honestly, that would be cool.
All right. It would be really cool,
Yeah,
but
dangerous, but cool.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that's really almost all you're doing with, at some point, if you like know everything there is to know about designing any effect pedal you possibly could, it really kind of comes down to, what are you going to make, and how is this going to react with the musician and stuff. And I think that is a lot of times like a more important question than, I don't know, just sort of like whether something is like the right transistor or something is sort of,
right.
Does it kind of, work to create a flow of, people creating music.
Yeah. It's kind of like a mystery switch, like, or just having something that's going to be like, who knows what's going to happen when you do this. I think one of the ones that strikes me the most that you do with this, and is evident from watching a specific video that I saw, is the evil filter. And I was looking for more information on this. Surprisingly, there isn't as much out there as I would have liked, because I think it's a terribly interesting pedal. And I watched one, it was Joel from Chicago Music Exchange. The video was about 12 minutes long, maybe 15. And I'm pretty sure at least 11 of those were spent going over what each of the knobs does. and the thing is, he's an amazing player. And here he is just going ad nauseum about, and then if you do this, it'll do this. And if you do this, it'll do this. And you flip this, it'll switch. And I was like, wow, I don't know what this does yet. But I'm terribly intrigued.
Sure.
So you've got a really wide range of pedals in offering everything from just, overdrives and echo machines and loads of awesome fuzz stuff. And now you're getting into a borderline Euro rack and a pedal box kind of things.
Sure.
Where are you hoping to take Death by Audio?
I guess, in a place where we're kind of even, innovating and creating more things. It's like I try to sort of have as much time as possible to just kind of focus on, inventing new things and kind of, experimenting with new technologies. And, we also just have to do a lot of other things here. So, I guess as much as possible, just kind of continuing furthering experimentation and, working with other people to see kind of where we can push the boundaries. And, see what you can make.
I would love to see. This isn't necessarily a challenge to you, but I think that there's a lot of room. One person that I know is really pushing these boundaries is Frank Daimel Guitars out in Germany. I would love to see a little bit more push towards onboard like guitar stuff.
Sure.
Not crazy pants. I don't need a pedal board on the guitar, but like maybe there's just like one switch that, like yours is like, hey, boom, you're gonna switch that, and instead of going from switching pickups, it's gonna give you an oscillator, like just
You know what I always thought would be a cool little passive effects box for that is just a box where you just have like just a piezo in the box, and it hooks up to the thing, because if you even just have that like in a box attached to your guitar through the guitar jack, it sounds pretty nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, if you end up doing anything like that, be sure
there you go.
Give us a holler.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, cool, man. I really appreciate you taking time to go over Death by Audio, and
there you go. Thanks for having me on.
If you guys aren't familiar with them yet, be sure to get to their site. Check out the Instagram. I think you guys do a great job of letting people know who you really are as a company as well. I think.
Oh, cool.
Some brands are like, "This is my pedal," and then you're like, "Well, what about you?" And the neat thing about the guitar world and gear world is that, we can go buy a piece of something, but the reason that we actually like listen to podcasts and watch the videos and want to meet the people is that we want to have some other kind of attachment to, I like this because it sounds good, but also I really dig who made it. And I think that's important. And you guys do a great job of that.
Well, yeah, I think there's a lot of cool people out there building stuff, and you kind of just find out every time you go to one of these things like NAMM or something, how kind of great the community is and the cool kind of support for all this stuff. So pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, we're going to transition into our Jared's favorite subject.
Would you rather?
All right.
All right, man.
Nice.
This week's Would You Rather is brought to us by our new patron, Rick Langlu. So, your plane crashed on a desert island. Lucky you, Tom DeLonge of Blink-182,
Nice.
that rhymes, was on the plane with his guitars, but you can only save one guitar from the crash. Well, because it's burning and plane fuel is really bad and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, man.
So terrible for a guitar.
Is Tom okay?
Who knows?
Yeah.
You're saving the guitar.
We're saving the guitars.
Right.
Probably not a bad thing.
They're instantly relic.
Do you get Tom DeLonge's signature Fender guitar? Ooh, or do you get Tom DeLonge's signature Gibson? So his signature Fender or his signature Gibson.
All right. Let's see. Tony, go ahead.
I think I'm going to go with the signature Gibson.
Okay.
Why?
Because only Gibson is good enough.
I agree. Wow.
That's
No.
That's like a 30-year-old slogan.
It is. I'm dating myself, aren't I?
As long as the headstock didn't snap off his crash.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen a Fender, because of the maple necks, have a broken headstock.
I think I saw some chips and some. I think the only reason they get defaced is from people just cutting them.
Yeah.
Purposely.
Yeah.
So
for those who don't know, it's sort of like a 335 style.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Single pickup. It's got
pickup,
racing stripes.
racing stripe right down the middle. I'm just reiterating everything that Tony says because he knows everything.
It's kind of tannish.
And for let's be
Bronzish.
clear, the Fender is like a Strat body. It's almost like a Strat Renita, like a Cabernita, but in a Strat.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
Tony,
I'm still going with the Gibson. I mean, I like the 335 body guitars, and that one in particular is kind of cool because of the racing stripe.
Okay, dig it. Oliver, how about you?
Definitely the Gibson. I mean, if you're on an island, there's probably not an amp, so 335 would be a little bit louder,
Good
probably.
point. Good point.
That's an excellent point.
Also, maybe you could use it as like a floating device, or maybe
or a paddle.
A paddle.
If you're making a raft.
Yeah.
That is, all these things are true. You're so practical, Oliver.
Hey. Well, we just had a plane crash.
Jared.
It would make all the sense in the world to grab the Gibson, right?
Right.
But I'm just going to go against the Gibson grain.
Hey, there you go.
No.
I'm going to go for that Stratocaster.
Yeah, it's okay.
I mean, I'm just picking it because no one else is picking it, and it deserves to be picked by at least one person.
Okay.
So I'll pick it.
All right.
Good job, Jared.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I am going to go. Here we go, everybody. I'm going to go with the Fender.
No.
Nice.
This is true, but I'm
Go
going
for
to
it.
use it to kill a boar.
Hey, there you go. That's smart. It'd be
All
better
right.
for you.
Ding, 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 ding.
I like it.
And crack open coconuts.
I love it. And
That's
that
true.
you can
That's
do.
true. You could.
That's
yeah.
right.
The maple neck.
Those are
That's
good
right.
ideas.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yes. And crack Tony over the head and grab his Gibson Tom DeLonge 335
go.
style.
Last
Smash
can
it.
of water.
All right, we got a few people to thank real quick, and then we'll let Oliver go here in just a second. Tony Baloney, hit it, baby.
Well, at this point in the show, we like to thank a special group of people that join us via patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs. And these are our executive producers, and there are various levels that you can join in and help support the podcast, and we greatly appreciate each and every level. But at this level, you get a great prize package, including T-shirt and barefoot buttons and stickers and picks and bears. Oh my! And the best part of being an executive producer is
to have your name read on the thing.
and that's what I'm going to do right now. Woohoo! So I am going to thank and welcome on board Mr. Rick Langlu.
Thank you, Rick.
He's our newest executive producer.
That's right.
Thank
I like
you so
him.
much.
I like him.
Also, let's welcome Michael McVeigh, Michael Sanchek, Brian Robison, Jonathan Jerusik, Ken Sayers, Corey Nigro, Doug Gann, Brad Partridge, Michael Van Zant, Doug Christ, Darren Gregory, Robert Marfleet, John Anglin, Chris Kearney, Sean S. Oliver Gonzalez, John Daly, Robin Smith, Pete Marshall, Carlos Mancha, Matt Brammer, David Wolfson, Martin Cliff, and Tom Barazin.
Tom Barazin. There we go.
Barazin.
Hey, everybody. Thank you guys so much. Your help is so welcome and needed, and we truly appreciate you. And it's just great knowing that you guys are out there digging what we are doing. Oliver from Death by Audio, thank you so much for joining us on our show. I really appreciate you sharing everything with our audience. Where can people find you?
Deathbyaudio.com.
Okay. And how about your band?
A place to bury strangers.com.
Right on. Excellent.
There you go.
Tony Baloney.
Let's just say you need a special pick guard. You've got an anniversary coming up.
I need 2 of them, by the way.
I know you need 2 of them. Or you're changing out pickups, whatever you want.
Right.
Go over to pickguardian.com. See, the sky's the limit. Really.
Or you need to put a pickguard on that Tom DeLonge.
Or you need
yeah.
exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
Just give them a call.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it.
Or an email.
Yeah, or an email.
Or go over to Instagram. Check out some of the other projects I've been working on outside of Pick Guardian too.
Perfect. Jared?
Well, if you guys need some new pickups, some new old-looking pickups to match some other old pickups.
More
that are
importantly,
old,
really great sounding pickups.
you're right. They do sound good. Thank you. BrandonWoundPickups.com. Jared, Jared, at Brandon Wound Pickups. I'm on Instagram. I am now on a Facebook group called Brandon Wound Pickup Fans. Please join us there. And especially if you're a Guitar Knobs listener, I will definitely let you in the group. I do little special videos that I only post to that group. So please join us there.
Yeah.
Cool.
And you can hit me up, DM, that's a direct message, on Instagram if you want to share something. We would love to hear your would you rathers, so send them in. Continue to send them in. We're getting really fun ones. It's great.
That's a good one.
And you can also shoot me an email, todd@theguitarknobs.com. Everybody have an awesome guitar week. We shall talk to you soon again. And subscribe!
Yeah.
Let me prepare myself.
Are we recording?
Langlois? How do you say his name?
Langlu.
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 Now, the internet here is poopy. New patron, Rick Langlu. Glue. Mootron. Langlois.
No, Langlu.
Langlu.
Oh.
Langlu.
Would you rather?
Okay. All right. We're going to get through this.
All right.
I like you.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.